It's just a little bit before midnight and technically the day of the fight, so I'm going to do my predictions for UFC 113, Shogun Machida 2. Interesting card, so I'm going to go over a bit of the undercard. John Salter versus Jason McDonald. I'm a little surprised Jason McDonald getting a lot of love from some of the predictors on here. He's a better grappler than Salter, but one would think that a corner has to reel in a guy and tell him to basically sprawl and brawl. I think he will. I think people overestimate Jason McDonald's stand-up a fair bit, but I'm taking Salter by decision. Mike Gaiman, Yoshida, not really a compelling fight. Yoshida by sub. An interesting fight between Tim Hague and Joey Beltran. I've gone back and forth on this one a number of times, like a considerably large number of times. Gonna go with Joey Beltran via decision or TKO. But if Tim Hague pulls this off, it is in no way a surprise. This is a very compelling fight. If Joey Beltran comes out and destroys Tim Hague, it does a lot for his career. If he doesn't, he'll take a step up a ladder if he can win. If he loses, he's going to take a step back. TJ Grant, Johnny Hendricks. Got to go with Johnny Hendricks. Better stand-up, better wrestling, good submission defense. TJ Grant's got a very good game off of his back and a good cardio guy, a guy who can pull wins where perhaps he should not. But at the same time, Johnny is an up-and-coming guy in the welterweight division. I think he will come out there. I think he'll be able to take down Grant, almost at will. I think he'll be able to control him. I think he'll just basically ride to a decision. Might finish him, but TJ Grant's pretty good in terms of the toughness quotient and the ability to take a hit. And I think he can probably stick around. Speaking of guys who have high toughness quotients, here's the opposite. Jonathan Goulet, the Road Warrior versus Marcus Davis. Jonathan Goulet, I've said it time and time again, he is a fighter with he is a fighter with loads of potential in terms of his skills, but he can't take a punch, and he's facing a former professional boxer, Marcus Davis. I'm saying probably a second round because Davis isn't going to go in there and just basically try to take his head off in the first round. He's going to be methodical about it. I think he's going to work out strike Goulet. I think he's going to wait for his moment. I think that's going to come. This is, of course, the great disappointment that Goulet is one of the better Canadian fighters on a technical level, but you can't take a punch. You can't take a punch, and that's pretty much the story of his career. He's had a long layoff, but I don't foresee that having changed. Marcus Davis, second round, TKO. Tom Lawler, Joe Dirksen. Was really looking forward to the Tom Lawler-Tim Crater fight, but this is also a very, very good fight. Dirksen probably the better grappler, but Lawler's got the advantage elsewhere. Lawler's got pretty good cardio, so it's not like he's going to get tired and fall into something. Dirksen's a tough individual. Lawler says he's going to go for a knockout. I think this is going to be harder, and I think also if he gets too aggressive, the submission could come. He could run into some trouble. Maybe he survives, and then he becomes cautious. Taking Lawler by decision because I think he can take him down and control him for a long enough period to get the decision, or he can stand and strike with him because Dirksen's striking is not amazing by any means. It's not it's not bad, but but in the end, it's just Lawler is better at too many aspects of the fight as much as I'd like to pick El Dirte. We go to the main card. We got Patrick Cote, Alan Belcher. Very excited for this fight. Two guys who stand up and bang. Two guys who, have a lot of power, a lot of knockout power, a lot of technical ability, a lot of hand speed, they mix it up nicely. Cote, I think, personally, is the better striker, although I'm not going to really argue with people who think Belcher's the better striker. This is a very hard fight to pick. I'm going to take Cote by decision. My main reason is that, Belcher had some hard times with Akiyama striking. I think Cote's a better striker than Akiyama. Perhaps not the better fighter particularly, but the better striker. Cote, though, that being said, is coming off a very long layoff. He's done pretty well with layoffs in the past, but, you never know. This one's been definitely the longest of his career. If he does not come out 100%, I foresee Belcher probably getting a TKO victory because Belcher's the type of guy that you have to come out 100% against when he's on his game. Occasionally he's not on his game. You saw examples of that with the Kendall Grove fight when he fought Jason Day. These are times where he didn't have his A game, and if he doesn't have his A game, Cote should have an easy night. But if these two guys come out full bore at their strongest they can be, and at 100%, physically ready, mentally ready. I think it's more the mental part that's the question for both of them. This is probably the fight of the night right here. It's going to be close, but I'm going to back Cote. And hope for the best, I guess. Matt Mitrione and Kimbo Slice. A bit of a joke fight to have on a main card, having two guys who have a combined record of 5-1. First one to really connect. I think we'll probably win this one. Both have a lot of knockout power. Neither have. I think Mitrione can take some punches. Kimbo's got a pretty good chin himself, but he's fighting a guy a lot larger, a guy who didn't even really solidly connect with Marcus Jones and sent him down. So, maybe Kimbo brings up the wrestling again, but I see this as probably a stand-up bang war, probably going into the second round. I'm going to go with Kimbo because I do believe he is the better fighter. Mitrione doesn't really have the skills that give Kimbo trouble, which is the wrestling and the leg kicks particularly. But I will say that if Seth Petroselli can knock you out, Matt Mitrione can knock you out as well. That's basically all there is to it. Sam Stout, Little Heathen Stevens. Love this fight. Jeremy Stevens, endless potential, great stand-ups, some pretty reasonable wrestling, a pretty, rugged ground game, I believe would be the word I would use, a bit of a grinder. He just basically can get out of things without really, technically getting out of them, but just basically kind of brute forcing them. And there's no questioning the knockout power. Ask Rafael Dos Anjos. Sam Stout, though, is a better striker. He's got some reasonable takedown defense. I think he can keep it standing. I think he outpoints him to a decision. That being said, if Stevens catches him, this night could be over. This is another fight of the night candidate. This is a really good fight. This card is really, really good, so I highly recommend. If you don't usually watch UFC cards, for some reason, this is one to watch. The top two fights of the night: Josh Koscheck, Paul Daly. Not the most interesting fight because I think everyone kind of has their idea of how this can go two ways. That is Koscheck being stupid and Daly knocking him out, or Koscheck being smart and winning by submission or UD. Maybe getting knocked out even if he is fighting smart because Daly is got that kind of power. But, we've kind of seen how Team Roughhouse fighters do against wrestlers, and it's generally not very good if they wrestle. See Dan Hardy versus, GSP. I mean, GSP is not Koscheck, but Koscheck is an explosive, powerful wrestler. He's quick. He's got great wrestling. He's got, pretty good grappling. I think he can probably sub Daly on the ground. I don't know if he'll go for it particularly. But it's a largely similar fight to the Anthony Johnson fight, only that Koscheck has an even bigger wrestling advantage and probably a bigger hole on the feet, though. Daly's going to be looking for that knockout, and that's basically his thing. Either guy who wins goes in a deep pile of crap because this is basically a number one contenders match to face GSP, and we've seen Koscheck fight GSP, and it will probably be not that much different. We saw Dan Hardy fight GSP, and that's Paul Daly's primary training partner, and as much as I think Daly does persist a greater threat than Dan Hardy, it's still not a great threat in a nutshell. And the main event, Machida, Shogun 2, the revenge, possibly Shogun's chance to set it right, because a lot of people thought he won the first fight. This bullshit that you got to beat the champ is stupid. Why do we have judges if you have to win by stoppage? Judges in MMA, of course, are crappy. I think Shogun's going to want to try and keep it away from the judge's decision this time. I think he's going to be a little more aggressive. I think he can do different things, whereas Machida is kind of bound to the fact that he is Machida Karate. It's kind of like a Gracie developing away from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in a way. It just probably isn't going to happen. He's got some things that can trouble Shogun, but I think Shogun, I foresee him just being more aggressive. hitting him a lot more, maybe some takedowns mixed in so that he can, win the grappling points, something he did not do last time, but I thought perhaps he should, and that probably would have gotten him the win. But this is going to be an interesting fight. I'm taking Shogun with a third-round stoppage, probably by strikes, because I don't think he submits Machida. But this is going to be a great night of fights.